Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our session with New Wave Learning this afternoon. We've got Jim Alexander from New Wave Learning. He's going to be running you through everything this afternoon. He's waving at you if you've got it on gallery view.
Welcome, everybody. The purpose of this 25 minutes together is to get you excited and intrigued about presenting virtually and face-to-face, believe it or not. But before we do anything, I want to get some understanding from you people that are down that camera there. Remember to look down the camera sometimes, not just at the screen, because you're more engaging when you look at the camera, is to check your understanding. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to play a little quiz. So let me just find it. It is on here. What I'd like you to do is to get your phones out. Please do get your phones out. And I'd like you to go on your phones to whatever web browser you're using to www.kahoot.it and put that number 8115497. Then put your nickname. Funny nicknames are always good. We can use those. There we go. Keira Knightley is in the room. Blondie, pale white. I reckon that's Zach. Wave at me. Zach, is that you? Thumbs up. Visual cues are always good. Fantastic. Come on. Indian Queen. I wonder who that is. 5, 4, what? Player left. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. We got 6 questions. Let's see how well you do. First one is a quiz question. Which of the following should you prepare the most when presenting? What you have to do is answer on your phones, red, blue, yellow, or green. Off you go. You've got 11 seconds left. Got 5 answers in. Okay, very good. Yes, you should prepare your tone and your body language over your content. Most people believe that you should prepare your content in your slideshow. So that's a great start. Next question. And the first person to answer that correctly was Blondie. Well done. True or false? The most important thing when presenting and influencing is your purpose. True or false? Let's have a look. Ooh, 3 people said false. That's interesting. Okay. The most important thing when you're presenting is your purpose. Let's see who. Oh, yes, Keira. Well done. You are more likely to buy from someone who cares about their product. True or false? Very true. Excellent. Oh, Tim's taking the lead. True or false? Putting a face on and going into presenter mode will help you engage your audience. True or false? Let's have a look. Oh, very good. That is not true. Okay. So we've got C, who's at the top of the list so far. Let's have a look at the next question. 5 out of 6. Presenting virtually in second circle means you have extroverted energy, presence, jumped from first circle, or power. What is second circle energy? Very good. Presence is the right answer. Okay, last question. Let's see if you get this right. What do you think the 5 P's are? Now, they are the 5 P's of presenting, whether virtually or face-to-face. Are they power, presentation, practice, performance, promote, purpose, preparation, presence, personality, passion, panic, 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 or perform, pressure, promise, persuade, promote? Very good. Excellent, excellent. Let's see who has won the Presenting Virtually quiz. Kira came third. C came second. And in first place, we have Tim. Well done, Tim. Excellent stuff. Okay. So, if you wouldn't mind, I would prefer now if we all go on gallery view. So if you go up to the top right, you can change your view from speaker view to gallery view so I can see your wonderful faces. And you know what? We're in a virtual chat room. Would you go into a meeting, a face-to-face meeting, blindfolded? So I would really like to see people's faces because it makes a difference. Here we go. There we got some. Who's that? That is Ruben. Hi. Any more for any more? I wonder why. I wonder why we don't want to. So now I'm not going to just download a whole load of information for you in the remaining time we've got together. I don't see the point of that because presenting is a two-way street. What I am going to cover off is the 5 Ps, which are purpose, the most important thing, preparation, presence, personality, and passion. Purpose sits in the middle. So think about it as a saddle. You've got preparation and personality as your reins, and as the stirrups, you've got passion and presence. Everything sits on purpose. So let's talk about purpose. I want people to actually answer questions when I'm asking you. What do you think purpose means? What is purpose? And I want to hear from you. I want to see you. I want to hear from you. Can you unmute? Well, I'll unmute. Ruben?
Is your why?
Who said that?
Me, Lisa Hadfield, work at conferences. I think your purpose is your why. You know, why do you do things? What drives you from, I think, the personal and the work it kind of interfaces.
Fantastic, Lisa. Why is it important to have purpose when you communicate?
To know what you know, to make sure you're hitting your objectives, to make sure you are meeting that purpose.
You're talking about objectives, so you're talking about what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Why do you want to achieve it? And it's a very difficult question to answer. I'm going to put you.
Is someone beating up a dog?
Yeah, who's got the dog? Okay, so purpose. What purpose really, really means. If you have to communicate, you have to know why the communication exists. And then what impact you want to have. So if you remember, the first thing that I said today was about purpose. It's about getting you excited, inspired, intrigued about presenting in general. So purpose, why is it there and what impact do I want to have? Once you know those questions, you can work out what you want your audience to think, feel, or do. Think, feel, or do. Then you are having a two-way street because why is up here and in here, and what is out there. Impact is out there. Now, interestingly, when you are facilitating or in meetings, it's a difficult conversation, or you're speaking to thousands of people, there is a two-way communication going on. There's give and take. One of the P's is presence. Second circle energy is about having the understanding of how aware you are, the mindfulness piece of what is going on internally, whilst also reading what is going on externally. Two-way street. It is not just a complete download of third circle energy, which is much more actorish, Shakespearean out there. I'm going to move on in a minute to talk about preparation. Before we do that, let's quickly explore personality. and I'd like to just offer this out to the room again. What do you think, and why do you think personality is one of the 5 Ps? Who would like to be unmuted? Hands up if you'd like to be unmuted.
I've just unmuted myself.
Oh, well done, Claire. Here's a little trick. Claire, before you go, here's a little trick. I'm just going to mute. If I press the space bar, I'm unmuted. There's a little trick for you.
So can you hear me?
We can hear you, Claire.
Oh, okay, great. I think personality is important because it draws people in. Is that right?
Yeah, no, totally. But why is personality one of the 5 Ps?
Because if you sat there like a lemon, no one's going to listen to you. You need to get their attention.
Very much so. But also, one thing to stress here is one of the reasons why we think it's so important, personality. And when we coach people through our program, Move Me, a lot of it is about individual feedback, about drawing out that personality, because we don't want to promote presenter mode. And by that, I mean that people learn how to stand like a BBC presenter and move like this and do these, and like our good friend politicians that do a lot of this. We don't want any of that. We want people to move and speak with passion and purpose in the way that they do it best. So personality is really, really important. Presence, second circle energy, which is a 2-way street. We've then got passion. Why is passion so important?
Because people buy from people. So if you're passionate and believe in what it is, the message, the purpose you're getting out to everybody, they're more likely to believe it as well.
And how does passion show up, Zach, when you are communicating? How does it impact you as a presenter or influencer?
I would say your body language, eye contact with the camera, and voice intonation in the way that you give that message.
Fantastic. Well done. So let's look at preparation. Now, the only difference in presenting virtually and face-to-face is your prep. What do you have to prepare before you present virtually?
Content.
Content? What else?
Isn't it the same as face-to-face? You need to prepare everything.
And what is everything?
Your timing, your content, your delivery, what ideas you're going to land and when. The list is kind of infinite.
Okay, so I'm sure this model has been around for years and it has been discredited. However, there is some real value in understanding it. A guy called Albert Morabian talked about the impact of communication, not about how information is translated and understood. It's about the impact. So in terms of the way people do communicate, there's 3 different vehicles. There is the content or words that they use, there is the tone in which they speak, and then there is their body language. How much do words have impact in terms of a percentage on communication? Do we all know this? Are we aware of this? So, Lisa, what's the percentage of the impact of the words?
I'm not going to give you, I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's the body language and the way you deliver it is more impactful than the content.
So his study, which was done many years ago, and quite frankly, I don't care about the numbers. His study said that the impact had 7% of the impact of communication, impact. Body language, 38%. Sorry, tone, I'm getting it wrong now. Tone, 38%. Body language, 55% of the impact. Now, that's not saying that content and words and slideshows are not important. They are very, very important. And in fact, you can increase the impact if you use storytelling, for example, because you're engaging the emotional part of people's brains, taking them on a journey, building intrigue, and therefore you can sell to them, you can present to them, influence them. And you're totally right, Zach, people buy from people, to sell is human. We're all in the game of sales. But how do we do that effectively is by congruently connecting to our words through our tone and our body language. And that is across the board. Ruben, 2 seconds. Across the board, it doesn't matter whether you're presenting virtually or face-to-face. Ruben, yes, please.
My toolbar, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work on my Mac, the toolbar thing. The pause, the space bar. So I was going to say, because you started this out by saying, what's the one thing you need to do remotely that you don't need to do face-to-face? And sorry, I thought you were going on to say you've got to get the body language right, because all the stuff you've talked about, that's as valid for face-to-face and remote, correct? So yeah. I'm intrigued. What is the one thing that you need to prepare remotely rather than face-to-face?
Does that make a difference to my impact? Yes. The framing of your video and your environment. You might also recognize that you're standing up. How many of you are standing up right now? How many of you stand up when you present virtually? Very good, excellent. Think about it. In terms of framing and background, I mean, I'm in my man cave at the moment, and I've got that in my background. I think it's okay. I don't particularly like my plastic on the walls, but that's the way it is. But essentially, having a nice background, but being lit. I would never turn the screen around so I'm facing the window, because that means I'm backlit and you can't see my face. All you've got at your disposal when you are presenting virtually is this area. Now, I could actually be a bit more, use my body a bit more, right? But again, I'm thinking about the top of my head, about a couple of inches gap between my hairline and the top of the frame. Framing is so important. We want, if you're sitting down, you want your computer or your camera, which is here, at about the same level as your eyes. That is the biggest difference in presenting virtually, is preparing your environment, whilst also having a quick internet speed, because that's quite important too. Other things that you need to prepare. So you've got your body language, your tone, you've got to warm up. You've got to warm up mentally, physically, vocally, emotionally. You've got to understand your purpose. So there's various different things. You've also got to prepare your audience. So who is going to be on the call? I didn't know who was going to be on this call, but I'm assuming that people want a couple of nuggets about how to present virtually. That's my assumption. But the one thing I do need to know that I need to prepare is myself, my energy and my excitement to inspire you to think about presenting using the 5 Ps. That's pretty much it. We've explored purpose very, very quickly. We've explored preparation very, very quickly. We've explored presence very, very quickly, passion, and also personality. We've got 5 minutes left. I would like to open the floor to any questions. I appreciate that you can't learn this stuff in half an hour. That's why our 4-week program, Move Me, is a 4-week program over 4 weeks using applications, an app and virtual sessions, and our presenting virtually masterclass is a 90-minute session. Any questions about that or about the content that we have gone through today?
Yeah, so I'm what I might arrogantly call very, very, very experienced in presenting face-to-face, from groups of 2 to over 1,000. But I really struggle with online delivery because my voice changes when I'm talking to a computer screen, and it sounds more tense, and I can't really work out how to change it. If I'm feeling it now, I'm feeling short of breath just from speaking to a computer, and I'm not quite sure where that comes from. But when I'm speaking to groups, it's fine, and my voice drops, and it's much more powerful and engaging and so on. And I'm just super conscious of it. And I wonder if you or anyone else has any tips.
My initial tip would be that you just demonstrated both those 2 qualities right there. So we know that you can influence your tone in order to have more power when you speak. It will probably come from your breath. That's why standing up, you can actually breathe lower and connect to your breath. You did, I think you nodded when you said that when you present virtually, you do stand up. More breath is where it comes from. But interestingly enough, you demonstrated it going up into your neck. So be aware of when you breathe into your shoulders, the voice will have an impact, because you start to make the voice, the sound in your throat, rather than deeply. You are much more connected to your words. So it's about engaging your diaphragm. It's stagecraft in that way.
We actually have a breath workshop coming up next week for anyone who wants to learn how to breathe properly. And actually, the lady who's running it, she talks about breath controlling everything and controlling all of your emotions. So yes, that's something that maybe you'd be interested in joining.
Yeah, fantastic. And if you ever heard of a guy called Wim Hof, check out his breathing exercises. And that's great at this time because it boosts your immune system. So Wim Hof, Iceman.
He's amazing. Yeah, he's really good.
Ruben.
So that's a great question, Zach. Thank you very much. The other one that I have specifically to remote versus face-to-face, because like Zach, I've done lots of presenting in the past. Do you find there's a difference between the actual content you present? So if you've got something that you put together face-to-face, now it needs to be remote. What's the difference?
Yes, I believe the content should be shorter rather than face-to-face. You can get used to actually engaging with the audience. It's very difficult to engage with the audience, as we will find, and as we find, especially with large numbers. If I am facilitating and there needs to be that interaction between people, I will make sure that the numbers are cut down so that the screen sizes and the chance to speak over people is less. And I would steer clear of too much screen sharing and looking at slides, and use the influence and the power of story in order to get your point across. Because if you're using slides, use images, but I would say that's the same in the face-to-face context anyway. You don't want people reading stuff when they're hearing you.
I've got a question. You talked about body language being very important. Are there any do's and don'ts virtually? Because there's a real tendency to have a lot of jazz hands and all sorts of things going on. So what would be your, and I love a jazz hand, but your tips for do's and don'ts in terms of body language?
Yeah, and I think it all comes from purpose. If you understand your purpose and you connect to your purpose, you will move and speak and sound congruent. Everything will be aligned. So body language should just naturally happen if you understand and are connected to your purpose.
So I'm very similar, Parusha. When I'm talking from the heart and I'm talking about something passionately, and it's all flowing, sometimes I can be a little bit woo, and I think that again, thinking about your audience, sometimes I sometimes feel like that could be overwhelming when communicating to people, so I have to really focus on trying to just tone it down a little bit. But from what you're saying, Jim, actually it's something that should just be embraced and natural. It's like human to human.
But there is a difference when you act live and when you're on camera. So movie actors do a lot less movement, a lot less gesticulation, because cameras on there and it all comes through the face. So to that end, presumably, it's actually, rather than dialing yourself up for the remote one, there's an argument to say you should actually dial yourself down a little bit and focus more on conveying through the eyes, through your features. And I would argue as well, to a certain extent, through the language and the words you use. Yes, they're not as perhaps as impactful as the body language, but when you are just looking at someone's face and when they're choosing very carefully the kind of language and words they're using, that I would suggest is possibly even more impactful in a virtual remote space than it is in a larger conference hall.
And it definitely would be if you've got your camera off. It definitely is. It definitely is. But you're right. What's on show here in terms of the framing is this, and so this has to be much more alive. So the facial expressions, which will all come through purpose as well. If you're connecting to your purpose, and I always, interestingly enough, feedback that I often give virtually is smile. But you don't want someone to smile disingenuinely. It has to be genuine smiles at the right time. But smiling is very important, especially for first impressions. Right at the get-go, having a nice smile will put your audience at ease and make them realise that you're no threat to them. even virtually as well as face to face. So this is your apparatus as well as your breath and your voice. I purposefully gave this presentation lots of energy, and I suppose this is a question for everybody. Was my energy too much?
No, not at all. Quite uplifting, actually.
So a lot of what we see in the virtual context is people with no energy. And actually, again, I'm thinking about my audience. You're out there. I'm trying to read and respond to you in the best way that I possibly can in this weird world that we're in. But it's lovely to see you all. It's 2:32. I don't know where you want to go from here.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very, very much. If anyone's got any last thoughts or questions, do put them in the chat. I think most people probably need to get going. So Georgie thought it was good energy. Ruben saying thank you for your time. Yeah, I think generally really well received. So thank you very much, Jim, for sharing that. Again, more comments from Lisa. Amazing. So helpful, thank you, great tips, useful and helpful, thank you. So yes, so some really everyone's obviously found it very useful. We will share with you the 5 Ps on a slide. So we've got all of your email addresses and we'll ping that to you afterwards. If any of you want to join any more events that we've got going on, you can connect to those through the Eventbrite website. If you want to learn anything else about New Wave Learning and all the wonderful programs that they have that they can support you with delivering virtually, then you can head over to New Wave Learning and find them via Google. Jim can probably tell me exactly what the website is if he unmutes himself.
It's newwavelearning.com.
There we go. Never know there's a .co.com. Yeah, so if you want to head over there, if you want to learn anything more, I think we all recognise that we're going to be in a virtual world potentially for a little bit longer, and I think actually even long term we're probably going to spend some of our time doing more things virtually rather than just face to face. So they have a great suite of courses and learning available for you. So thank you very much everyone for coming. Hope you found it really beneficial and enjoyable, and have a wonderful Easter weekend. Got to do the jazz hand wave. Thank you for joining. Bye.